Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and joining me tonight is Joe. Jason was supposed to join us, but his wife is a little busy with some schoolwork right now and needs the computer. So Jason might be on with us later, but if not, it'll just be me and Joe tonight. How you doing, Joe?
I'm hanging in there. I'm feeling pretty good after this last weekend.
Man,
So
I love the results of this past weekend for the Cubbies.
the Cubs have been a part of 8 sweeps this year, and this is the first one they've been on the good side of. So
Yeah, they were due.
yeah.
So Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking rum and Coke because with this summer hot weather, I'd rather be at the beach.
Dude, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? It would be so nice to be on the beach right now. For me tonight from New Trail, I am drinking a Lazy River Pils. Absolutely phenomenal Pilsner, very crisp and refreshing, quite delicious, and relatively local up in the Williamsport area. So definitely worth the drive. I will admit the brewery itself is kind of back in a little bit of a sketchy part, but it's worth the trip back. The beers on tap are absolutely excellent. Nice atmosphere. So yeah, I recommend it highly. Jason said that tonight he is drinking a Blue Trail from Lancaster Brewing Company, which is a lemon blueberry shandy. He says it's absolutely amazing, a little bit of a sour tang to it. So, Jason, enjoy your beer. And like I said, hopefully you can hop on later. If not, though, we'll see you next week. All right.
That sour beer seems appropriate.
I'm honestly surprised he's not drinking a sour monkey after last weekend. That seems like it'd be a little more appropriate, or straight apple pucker at this point. All right, so for the All-Star break festivities last weekend, first up on Monday night, we had what turned out to be a really good home run derby. In the quarterfinal round, we had a big upset, 8 knocking off 1. Pujols defeated Schwarber 20-19. The round did go into a swing off. It was tied 13-13 after regulation. And then you had number 4 Juan Soto knocking off Jose Ramirez, who was seeded 5, 18-17. The guy who I thought was the star of the whole freaking show, Julio Rodriguez, at 6, upset Corey Seager at the 3, 32-24. And then, just like they did last time, number 2 Pete Alonso beat Ronald Acuna Jr. at 7, but only by 1, 20-19. And I'll say this, Joe, Acuna, he got screwed by horrible pitching from his pitcher. Like, I was complaining more about the pitcher than I was about anything else. I mean, this dude's trying to throw like cutters off the plate instead of lollipops in the kill me zone on the inside, so Acuna could just pull it with his power. Absolutely terrible pitching. And Schwarber's pitching wasn't great either.
No, Schwarber's pitching wasn't very good, but there's a lot of debate about whether his count was correct. I don't think it was. I think that the sentimental favorite for Albert to win that one, but it didn't look right to me. Pitching Ninja normally gets highlights during regular games, and they got one in the home run derby by showing how bad the pitching was for Acuna. It was just awful.
Like, why are you throwing cutters on the outer third that break off the plate? This is a home run derby. You're not trying to strike the guy out. Last time I checked, anyway.
Yeah, this is BP.
Yeah, this is not. This is not. I'm gonna do my best Greg Maddux impression and see how many guys I can make look like a fool. This is, you're throwing lollipops because we want them to get killed, because that's the whole damn purpose of a freaking home run derby. Oh my God! And, the sad thing is Acuna got to 19. I'm sorry, he got to he did get to 19, and he only had 1 30-second bonus. He didn't get another far enough. He didn't get a second far home run to pick up the second 30-second bonus. So the fact that he did that in the so that'd be 3.5 minutes. That's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean it's a good show by him, and like you said, the star of this was the kid from Seattle,
who should have won.
Should have won. Had a hell of a monster first round. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. When he started when he got in that groove in that first round, I was like, Seager's screwed. There is no chance he's going to catch that. And boy, was I right. And not going to lie, I was 100% okay with that too. All right, moving on to the semis. Juan Soto finally knocked off the emotional favorite Albert Pujols 16-15. Soto took all 3 rounds. Soto took a while to get going. I mean, in the finals, it took him, I think, 45 seconds to hit his first home run before he went on a tear. And then, and let's face it, what was a much better semifinal between J-Rod and the Polar Bear, Rodriguez put up 31, and Alonso could only put up 23, which is not a bad number at all, but damn, 31, 2 straight rounds of 30 is absolutely phenomenal. And then in the finals, his luck finally ran out. Soto beat him by 19-18. For the Derby, the longest home run went to Juan Soto at 482 feet. He hit that in the first round. Rodriguez hit the most home runs, though, at 81, and it wasn't even close. So Soto became the second youngest player to ever win the Derby. So, Joe, knowing that Rodriguez hit by far the most home runs, do you have a preference of the head-to-head format versus the old format where it looked at total home runs for the entire Derby?
I mean, we don't award home run titles for guys who do the best against a divisional opponent or some bull crap like that. The home run records are based on the number of home runs, not who you hit them against. So to me, total home runs makes the most sense for this. I mean, that's what we're tuning in to watch. So for me, the old format makes more sense if you're going to reward the guy who puts on the best showing of the week. I mean, Soto had 50 some home runs and won this thing.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, you could keep the time thing, and the timeouts and the bonus time or whatever, but I don't understand the head-to-head part. I think it's better if it's, all right, here's the best 8 home run hitters in the league, and let's see who wins.
Yeah, Soto had, I believe, 53 home runs, so he was off pretty significantly. He wasn't even close to J-Rod's total. Jason said in the group chat before we got started, for Derby, I prefer home run count. No way should we have lost Seager so soon while others moved on with less. I also hate the timed format. I want the outs back. It's too chaotic. You don't get to see the mammoth shots or each home run. It leads to completely inaccurate and terrible play-by-play announcing. I will completely agree with him on that one. The announcing by ESPN was not great, and they were often 1 or 2 home runs behind on the count, and that was moderately frustrating. Now, I understand MLB was trying to speed up a little bit because those old home run derbies went 3.5, 4 freaking hours long. So maybe if you want to keep the timing to keep things moving, you can, but don't do it as a head-to-head. Just do it as a lump sum.
Right. That to me makes the most sense.
Or if you're going to go back to the old format, don't do 10 outs the whole way. For round 1 and round 2, maybe do 5 to 7 outs instead. And then for the finals, give everybody 10 outs. I just a thought. Something that, just mix it up a little bit. Because, I'm not wild about the head-to-head. It's not really my favorite. And the fact that the guy who was almost 30 home runs ahead of his competition was second is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. And then Tuesday night, we had the All-Star game. It was the 92nd Midsummer Classic. It was held in Los Angeles, hosted by the Dodgers for the first time in 42 years. Previous Dodgers occurrences were 1949. That was up at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. The 1959 at the LA Memorial Coliseum. And then 1980 was the last time at Dodger Stadium. The NL jumped to an early 2-0 lead in the first when Betts singled Acuna home after his ground rule double. And then Goldschmidt later hit a solo home run in the inning because, let's face it, if anybody was going to hit a home run on the NL side, it's going to be Paul Goldschmidt, who is just destroying any baseball that comes anywhere near home plate this year. And then the AL struck back in the fourth inning as MLB ERA leader Tony Gonsolin of the Dodgers, of course, gave up a 2-run home run to Stanton and a solo home run to Buxton. And that was all the scoring for the entire game. There was a ton of strikeouts the whole way around because that's what happens when you have the best pitchers in the league out there just throwing gas because they only need to throw one freaking inning, you know. That was the AL's ninth straight victory. Joe, what do you did you watch much of the All-Star game? I kind of was popping in and out. I wasn't really heavily watching it because I'd rather watch the home run derby if we're being completely honest.
I didn't watch much of it. I think we talked about this a ton before, but Gonsolin should have been the starter in this one,
Yeah.
probably. Um, you know, but again, like you said, it's sometimes it's fun to watch and sometimes it's not. And honestly, um, given the state of the Cubs before this weekend, I sometimes you just need to check out, and that's kind of my approach, I think.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. It, I did though I did like all the fun I got to see the Contreras brothers having. That was pretty freaking sweet. Not gonna lie. I also saw that Bednar of the Pirates did get in for that last inning, and it was because it was crap. Which closer was Snicker going to use in the ninth? I can't think of. Anyway, he said, "No, give this guy the chance. I've been here, done that. Let him have a chance to pitch." I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's stories like that. It makes baseball fun. It always does. Jason decided this week that we are going to skip down on the farm because we really didn't have much action at all because All-Star Week across the board and across the minors. So note down the farm prospects this week. Joe, what's your heartwarming story of the week?
Hold on a second. I had that toward the
Did I
back
jump you out of order? My bad.
a little bit. Um, Actually, so story number one was the story you just alluded to. Diaz giving Bednar the shot in the ninth inning. Um, he had warmed up like a few times earlier in the game. Bednar had not much, just a few pitches. Um, but a little bit on David Bednar. 2016, the Padres selected him out of Lafayette College in a round that no longer exists in the amateur draft. The 35th round. The Padres in 2021 traded him to the Pirates as part of the deal that sent Musgrove to San Diego. Grew up in Mars, PA, about 25 miles north of Pittsburgh. Fan favorite, good all around guy, and he's pitching out of his mind this year in the Pirate bullpen. Um, yeah, Diaz had been in an All Star game, as you said, in 2018 when he was on the Mariners. This was Bednar's first shot, and Diaz kept talking to um, French in the Braves bullpen coach in the bullpen during the game and saying, hey, let's give him a shot. Let's give him a shot. I've done it before, as you mentioned. So, normally these All Star games they follow a script, and it's this guy's pitching this inning, this guy's pitching that inning, and Diaz was supposed to be the guy for the ninth, and yeah, it's he was warming up in the fourth, and then you know Gonsolin got under control and got out of the inning. Um, it was yeah, just Diaz, like you said, he was like, I've been here before, I've done this before. We don't know when he'll get to his next one because let's be honest, the Pirates are sort of a unknown when it comes to how good they're going to be and how long he'll be on that team and what kind of career he's going to have. Um, and so that was the big story out of the All Star game. It's Edwin really spearheaded the effort, and things got going, and everybody got involved emotionally in it, and it's French in the bullpen just thought, you know what, he didn't throw out much. He's still got plenty of in the tank because he hasn't thrown a ton in the bullpen warming up, and it was a good moment for him. Um, and it's great to see what he's been able to do for the Pirates this year, get rewarded with a moment like that. And it's really nice to see guys in the game have that kind of respect for each other, and respect the moment. We talked an awful lot about how Miggy and Pools were in here, and maybe they shouldn't have been. Um, but um, you know, Bednar's pitched lights out this year and deserved to be there, and I'm really excited that he got a chance to do that. So that was my release the good story of the week. I have one more actually that I found just before we got going here. Um, it came out last week. Obviously the tragic shooting in Uvalde earlier this year. Um, Bo Jackson, legendary Major League All Star and NFL All Star, the only guys to do it at in both sports. Um, Paid for the funerals of all of those involved in that, and that just really tug at me quite a bit reading that. And um, he made an anonymous donation ahead of time for like 170,000 to help with things. So um, Bo Jackson is a favorite of mine, obviously from Tecmo Bowl because he's an automatic winner um, to score a touchdown and
Every
whatnot.
time.
But
Every time he touched the ball, you could not stop that man.
no, and so this is just really, like, again, we talked a little bit ago about athletes understanding the moment, and Bo Jackson is stand up guy, and it really nice story. So
Yeah. No, good stories, Joe. I hadn't heard about the Bo Jackson story yet, so that's just awesome. All right, and this past weekend we had the Hall of Fame inductions. Long list of guys that got in this year, which is pretty sweet. One on balloting, and that was David Ortiz. He got in on his first ballot. He's the first career DH to be selected on his first ballot, and I still don't think any DH should have been selected on their first ballot, but that's neither here nor there anymore because he's in. He's the fourth Dominican-born player to be enshrined after Pedro Martinez, Vlad Guerrero Sr., and Juan Marichal. He hit 541 home runs, 1,768 RBIs. He had a career slash line of 286, 380, 552, and racked up a grand total of 55.3 WAR in his career. He won 3 World Series titles, all with Boston, including the big one that broke the curse. He was a 10-time All-Star, and he picked up 7 Silver Sluggers along the way as well. We had Tony Olivia. He was elected by the Golden Days Era Committee, which looks at players from the 1950s through 1969. He played all 15 seasons with the Twins, won 3 batting titles, led the AL in hits 5 times, and had a 304 career average over a 15-year career, which is absolutely incredible. He was the 1964 Rookie of the Year. Joe, listen to this rookie campaign he ran on. He hit 323. Had 217 hits, 43 doubles, 84 extra base hits, 374 total bases, 109 runs scored. He led the American League in every single one of those categories. Damn.
That's amazing.
It's going to be tough to beat that for greatest rookie campaign. We also had Minnie Minoso was elected by the Golden Days Era Committee, again, 50s through 69. He was the first Black Latino player in the American or National League. He was known for his speed as well as his bat. He was a career 299 hitter with 8 seasons over 300. He was the AL leader in triples and stolen bases 3 times each, 167 total stolen bases for his career. He became the 3rd player to get a hit after the age of 50 and the 2nd player to appear in the major leagues in 5 different decades. You had Buck O'Neil. He was elected by the Early Baseball Era Committee, which looks at players from the pre-1950s. He was a first baseman and manager in the Negro American League, mostly with the Kansas City Monarchs. He worked as a scout for the Cubs after his playing days, signed Lou Brock to his first professional baseball contract, became the first African American coach in Major League Baseball, though he was banned from being the manager. And if I remember right, he wasn't allowed to be in the dugout during games either. I think there was something really dumb and, unfortunately inherently racist about that. He played a major role in establishing the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. I plan on going out whenever we go out there to see a game. I really want to go out and see that museum while I'm out there, hopefully next summer. Jim Catt, he was elected by the Golden Days Era Committee. He is the only pitcher to face both Ted Williams, who retired in 1960, and Julio Franco, who retired in 2007. He picked up 283 wins. He was one of the best fielding pitchers of all times. He had 16 gold gloves, although, as we know, Joe, Greg Maddux turned out to be the better fielding pitcher with, 18 gold gloves. After his playing days were over, he became a sportscaster for 22 years, calling games for both the Yankees and the Twins, and he picked up 7 Emmy Awards for excellence in sports broadcasting, which is just incredible. Gil Hodges was elected by the Golden Days Era Committee. He led the Mets to their first World Series title in '69 as the manager. The amazing Mets team, consider this, Joe, that team had never won more than 73 games in a season before that. He also hit 370 home runs during his career, mostly with the Dodgers. And he was known for being an absolutely phenomenal defensive player. He ranked second in NL history with 1,281 assists and 1,614 double plays when his playing career ended. Absolutely incredible numbers. Bud Fowler, he was elected by the Early Baseball Era Committee, 19th century pioneer, considered to be the first black player in professional baseball. He played for more than 50 teams as a top performer, but was often forced to switch teams because either a teammate or an opponent refused to take the field with him. Hall of Famer Dave Winfield gave the acceptance speech for him and said, quote, "Some fans loved him, but many of his own teammates and opposing teammates didn't. They didn't want to play with a black man." That was, unfortunately, that was a sad part of the era of the time. It's good to see him finally make the Hall, though. And then, Joe, Timmy K, one of our favorite writers and analysts. I'll let you talk about Timmy.
Yeah, I mean, most people are our age. We've grown up on Tim Kirkchin, and he's just so much energy and so much passion to the sport. It's really fun. He was honored with the Career Excellence Award for meritorious contributions to baseball writing, and that's an understatement in my opinion.
Yeah.
He was quoted as saying Johnny Bench called him to congratulate him and said, "Congratulations, Tim. Welcome to the club. You're one of us now." He said, "I'm not one of them. I'm not in their club, but the greatest catcher of all time called me to congratulate me." So, and I'm sure he probably had 1 or 2 stories about Johnny Bench tied in there about, how many balls he can hold in his hands and all this other stuff. And
Like 4 or 5. That man had freakish hands.
And he's really happy to see Big Pop again. And he wrote for Sports Illustrated for 7 years before joining ESPN in 1998. And he's been a part of baseball coverage for them ever since.
That doesn't seem possible that it's been that long.
No, it really doesn't.
I feel old.
Yeah. He used to cut out newspaper box scores for like 20 years and keep them in a spiral notebook. And then finally his kids were like, "You can get these and print these off. You don't have to do this anymore." But that just shows you the amount of passion he has for the game and the amount of excitement he gets out of it. We talk a lot. I've talked a lot about Vin Scully and how much I enjoy listening to him. He could make, a grocery list exciting, and Tim Kirkchin could find, some nugget about a player from 20 years ago and connect it to what's going on in his career at this time. Like he's a timeless sports writer. Big time personality, obviously, and worked on the Orioles beat, chronicled Cal Ripken's pursuit of Lou Gehrig's milestone. And, his final quote was, Baseball is the greatest game. It's the best game of all time. It's the hardest game in the world to play. It's a beautiful game, and a number of people I have met in this game who will be my friends for the rest of my life.
You know, one of my favorite things that Timmy K did was during 2020 when baseball was locked out. He was doing that what happened in baseball on this day, for whatever year ago, how many ever years ago. And I'm sure he didn't have to go looking up, on a website, things that happened in baseball on this day. I'm sure he just got it, got it, got it, got it, got. And he did such a good job of representing as many. I actually think he did at least one article on every team. He did such a good job of making sure everybody got mentioned in there. Or, I think one time, a couple times it was like a Hall of Famer's birthday. So, he did a whole article on them and his stories about them. Honestly, it was the baseball fix we all needed in 2020 to help us get through that lockout until the game was able to come back. And his crazy quote he said about Big Papi. He said, "I checked with the Elias Sports Bureau, which I do virtually everything, and we established that this is the largest disparity in size between a player being inducted and a writer being honored in the same year. I gave up at least a foot and close to 200 pounds to David Ortiz." Always has his sense of humor, and it comes through in his writing too, which is something I just absolutely love about Kirkjian. It's such a great honor. I'm so happy he got. He got. I know it's not a Hall of Fame induction. Screw that, Tim. You're in the Hall of Fame, man. Take your accolades, man. You have 100% earned them. No questions asked by me or anybody else.
Yeah, and you brought up David Ortiz. First ballot DH is still a little weird, but I think the more I think about it, Poppy was larger than life personality, and he was such a big part of what Boston was able to do that I think the amount, again, tying into Timmy K here, the amount of passion that Ortiz played with, it seems fitting.
And here's the thing, Joe. If we didn't have the postseason heroics from Poppy, he's got good enough numbers that he would have been in eventually, no doubt about it. But I think his postseason heroics was what really made the writers overlook the fact that he was just a DH and push him through, because there have only been two DHs in the history of baseball that I think should even be considered for first ballot, and it was Big Papi and Edgar Martinez. I wouldn't consider any of the other DHs for first ballot, probably not even second or third ballot. So I would say the postseason heroics. I mean, the year he won the ALCS MVP award, he hit something like six. He was hitting in the 670s for that series. Like, he completely changed that series around. Without his bat, Boston doesn't win that series and go on to win the World Series. No chance. All right, Joe. Let's look at some midseason awards. So, our preseason picks for AL MVP, all three of us had Vlad Jr., and Jason said Shohei would also be a strong possibility. Who's your AL MVP at this point? Are you sticking with Vlad, or do you have a different player you're going with?
I mean, I think you have to figure it's one of these guys in New York. Judge has been ridiculous all season long. You know, so to me, it's probably Judge's going away at this point.
Yeah, that's actually my pick too, is Aaron Judge. Right now, he's got a 294, 376, 650 slash line. His OPS is 1.026, which is second in the American League to Yordan Alvarez's 1.075. Judge has hit an absolutely incredible 37 home runs so far. I think only one of those has been since the All-Star break passed. That's insane. That the dude's on pace to beat the single season home run record if he keeps smashing. And let's face it, there is no sign that he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Aaron Judge on this one, and
Yeah, and this is usually Jason's big sticking point with the MVP is the most valuable player to their team, and he's clearly it.
Well, and not only that, he's not only the most valuable player on the Yankees, he is the most valuable player in the American League right now. You could drop him on any team and he will immediately make them better.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Aaron Judge, beginning of the year when he was kind of like, I'm betting on myself, and we're like, okay, and yeah, don't bet against Aaron Judge.
He's winning that one right now. I think the Yankees are so relieved that they came to an arbitration agreement before the arbitration hearings and everything because, boy, if they hadn't, they were going to get raked over the coals. Now, and I know arbitration hearings do not look at this year's stats because normally they happen in the offseason. It just got pushed back because of the lockout. But still, next year's arbitration, oh boy, that's Aaron Judge going to be. Well, I'm sorry, he'll be a free agent. Never mind. It's yeah, Judge. He picked the right time to trust himself, and boy, that's coming through in droves right now. So I will be shocked if anybody passes Aaron Judge at this point.
Yeah, one of two guys in baseball that bet on himself, and this guy is actually winning this one.
With no lifetime ban forthcoming. And we won't even get into the hypocrisy around FanDuel's deals and Pete Rose still being banned from baseball. Although he will be honored with the 1980 World Series champion Phillies team coming up. So could it be a sign of the ice starting to thaw? Probably not as long as Rob Manfred is in charge. But you can dream and hope. All right, Joe, for NL MVP, you were looking at Chris Bryant, Jesse Winker, and Bryce Harper. I mean, the Harper pick wasn't bad, man, but he's hurt now, so I think you can pretty much toss the Harper pick out the window. Although, if you would call him your first half MVP, I would have a hard time arguing with that. Who's your pick for NL MVP for the first half?
I'm actually interested to hear who you think is the NL MVP first.
Well, let's see here. So, this one's hard because I think a lot of guys, there are probably 3 or 4 guys right now that are extremely deserving of the NL MVP right now. I think right now it's going to be Goldschmidt because the way that dude is hitting right now and the fact that he's got an outside shot at the Triple Crown gives him a huge leg up. The other guys I think we have to look at, I think you have to look at Freddie Freeman. I think you have to look at Austin Riley right now. And I know I'm going Homer pick. Yeah. I know Jason's probably pissed that he can't be on to give me some shit about it, but let's face it, Austin Riley this year he's hitting out of his freaking mind right now. He just hit his 28th home run of the season, which is second in the National League behind Schwarber's 30. He's got an OPS of 947, which is tied with Freddie Freeman for second. He's got 28 doubles. He's hit 63 RBIs. And he's batting 295, Joe. Like, this is the guy that when he came up would chase every damn slider off the plate, like to the point that the Braves sent him back down to AAA for a month and a half to retool his swing. And he's solved his chase issues. I mean, he still strikes out a bit, but that's because he's aggressive at the plate. And he's still hitting 295 despite the strikeouts. So who am I to argue?
No, I can't say I disagree with you there. I'm gonna say there's a top 2, and I think it's probably Goldie is pretty high on the list, and it's painful for me to say that for obvious reasons for Goldschmidt there. But I think also too, Mookie Betts has been really strong for the Dodgers this year, and has been helpful in keeping them where they are. Not the best, probably not the best number wise, but defensively, he's been phenomenal this year.
But that's the thing. So is Freeman.
Right.
You've got two Gold Glove guys right out there in LA. So I feel like the defense kind of bounces, or you have to give a leg up to Freeman because first basemen are involved in virtually every ball that's hit. So
Right.
I agree. Mookie's having a good year, but I think Freeman's more valuable to the Dodgers than Mookie is.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it's just another name out there. I think Goldschmidt seems to be kind of clearly the odds-on favorite at this point for all the reasons you mentioned. I mean, a guy having an outside shot at the Triple Crown still.
It's really hard to argue with that. I mean, was Miggy the last one to get a Triple Crown period? I think
I think
so.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since. Yeah, it's been a very, very long time. So my dad's asking, what's your thought about Juan Soto for NL MVP?
Um, I mean, he might be the most valuable member of the Nationals, but the Nationals are, have a what 30 wins?
Yeah, it's what 30, 33, 32,
Yeah, 32.
30
Yeah, I
something.
mean, you have the worst record in the league, and you have a guy in Soto who, I mean, is he having a decent year? Probably for him, but not nearly on par with his other years. That's for sure.
I,
And
I can't pick Soto this year. I just can't. He's trying to do too much because he is literally the only good guy outside of Josh Bell and his team.
yep,
And frankly, of the two, Josh Bell would be my. If I had to pick a national for MVP, it'd be Josh Bell, not Juan Soto. His 82 walks lead the league by a very long shot, and I don't expect anybody to catch him there. But he's forcing so much. I mean, he's only hitting 245 this year. And I know batting average isn't everything, but 245 with 20 home runs, whereas Josh Bell, 305, 13 home runs, but he also has 51 RBIs. I mean, Bell's bringing the guys home that Soto's not bringing home. Well, granted, nobody gets on base for the Nationals, so that's tough to look at. But look at pure base hits. Josh Bell's picked up 107. Juan Soto's only picked up 79. Doubles, it's 22-17 in favor of Bell, and somehow Bell has three triples and Juan Soto doesn't have any. That one I'm not quite sure how the hell that happened, but it did. If I'm picking an MVP from the Nationals, it's going to be Josh Bell this year. It's not Juan Soto. For him, this is not a good year, and that's not a bad year, honestly, for most players. It's just for Juan Soto and the lofty expectations we have for him, that's not going to cut it.
yeah. I mean, you can't have a year like this and then turn down $440 million. Sorry, buddy. That. I mean, even if his numbers were halfway decent, I still wouldn't consider him because it's just to me that just turning down that kind of money just makes you look stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't argue with that.
I mean, whatever team picks him up, if they decide to go after him, you're going to be in the same position that the Angels have been in for 10 years with Mike Trout and nobody else.
I mean, at least they finally have Shohei Ohtani, so at least they have something.
Right.
Although not sure. Well, I'll talk about when we get to the Braves because that was one of the strangest outings I think I've ever seen. All right, moving on. Let's look at the Cy Youngs. Your preseason picks for Cy Youngs were John Means and Lance Lynn. So, Joe, you're looking great in your preseason picks right now, man. I can't lie. One guy out for Tommy John and one guy was hurt for it seemed like most of the first half of the season. So, what are you thinking now for AL Cy Young, man?
First off, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. First off,
I know.
I'm a Cub fan. I understand that. But second off, I think I also, mentioned as a behind, back burner candidate at the beginning of the year, um, Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has been the brightest spot on the White Sox, and if he could pitch more than once every fifth day, they'd be taking away this division.
They need him to pitch more than once every fifth day. But hey, the results have been there. I mean, the guy's 10-4. He's got a 2.03 ERA on the season. He struck out 154, which I believe leads the AL, or it's pretty damn close if it's not. Yeah, he's leading the AL. He's one ahead of Garrett Cole. He's got a 1.19 whip, and he's got a 2.03 batting average against.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that. That's the results
No.
are definitely there.
The fact that he didn't make the All-Star game is just baffling to me.
Utterly ridiculous. Absolutely utterly ridiculous. I can't with that one. So my pick for I know I didn't think I was going to say this, especially beginning of the year. At this point, I think my pick for AL Cy Young's Justin Verlander. He leads the majors in wins with a 13-3 record, although Kyle Wright's right behind him at 12. He's got a 186 ERA, which is second in the American League behind Shane McClanahan, who would also be an excellent pick. I would have no arguments with that. Verlander has thrown 116 in the third innings coming off the injury, which is good for seventh in the AL right now. He's gone back to his strikeout ways. He's sixth in the American League with 117 strikeouts. He's got a .88 whip and a .192 batting average against. That's number 2 in the American League in whip, number 2 in average against. Again, both of them are behind Shane McClanahan. I think right now at this point, I think it goes to Verlander. If it went to McClanahan, I would have no qualms with that. I would have no qualms either with Dylan Cease as well. He's having a great year. The other guy I think you have to look at as an outside shot right now would be Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays, also having a great year, 11-4 with a 2.24 ERA, struck out 110, .97 whip, and a 2.10 average against. The American League pitchers this year, which as we saw during the All-Star game when they struck out a crap load of National League hitters, are all very good, and it's a very, very, very deep pick. My dad picked his pick is McClanahan. Like I said, no qualms, no arguments there. Very hard to pick against that one. And my preseason AL Cy Young picks were Carlos Rodon and Lynn. So I was right there with you on that one, Joe. I'm not in the ballpark of where I am now. I will say this: Jason has a guy who could be on the outside looking in because he had Garrett Cole picked. But I don't see, as it is right now, I don't see Garrett Cole getting ahead of those guys.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I didn't like Garrett Cole enough to begin with, but after that whole complaining about a delay in the game of about like 5-7 minutes, I was like, nope, no thanks.
Yeah, Wanderers don't get a lot of love, and they shouldn't. Looking at the NL, this one was also a mess. Joe, your picks were Jacob deGrom and Jack Flaherty. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And then outside shots, you also had Buehler, who's now hurt, so that's probably out. Wheeler, who is not a bad pick. I don't think he's going to be one of them, though, just because the Phillies can't provide run support when he needs it. And Max Scherzer, who is a good pick, but again, was hurt for a month and a half. So I don't know that he's going to be able to put up enough numbers to pass the guys that are looking up at the top right now. So what's your pick on NL Cy Young?
Yeah, this is. I mean, Gonsolin is having a monster year. So it probably would be a front runner there. The NL is a little tougher because it's just not as strong pitching wise as the American League is. I think. I think for me it's between Gonsolin and Alcantara, and Alcantara has just been having a monster season for the Marlins. It's just been insane.
I think here's the thing with the NL Cy Young. Every year it comes down to what stat are you looking at? Are you going to look at total wins? Are you going to look at the ERA? Are you going to look at strikeouts? What are you looking at? Because each guy is strong in one area, good in another area, but they're not as strong as a bunch of other guys. There's no runaway favorite this year with the with the National League. I honestly, for me, it's Alcantara. He's only 9-4, but you got to consider he freaking pitches for the Marlins, so that doesn't help. He leads the National League with a 181 ERA. He's already thrown 2 complete games in his 20 starts. He leads in innings pitched significantly. He's at 144 and a third. Second place is Nola at 126 and 2/3, and then Fried and Mikolas at 125 and a third. With strikeouts, Alcantara is fourth in the National League at 133. He's got a .9 whip, which leads the National League. He's got a .187 average against, which is second in the National League to Corbin Burns' .186. I think it's got to be Alcantara, man. It's the only other guys I could even try to make an argument for. If you want to look at wins, you could look at Gonsolin. He is 11-0, and he's got an ERA at 2, but he's only thrown 93 and 2/3 innings. He's not even. I don't believe he's even qualified for ERA titles at this point because he doesn't have enough innings pitched. Atlanta's got 2 double-digit leaders. Kyle Wright's 12-4, but he's up near 295. Max Fried's 10-3 down at 274. Of the two, my pick from Atlanta would be Max Fried. He's got the 109 whip and a 242 average against. But even those guys, there's things you can poke arguments in for both of them. Although I have to say, I didn't realize Max Fried's only walked 22 guys this year. That's pretty good. And we won't even talk about Ian Anderson leading the National League in walks right now. We're not even going to get into Ian Anderson because that'll make me mad. But I think right now it's got to be Alcantara.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to argue with what he's been able to do, and 2 complete games in an era where we don't have complete games anymore, really, on a regular basis. But I think you have to look at too. I think with Gonsolin, it's almost like, are you going to punish a pitcher because the way that the team is structured is okay? You give us 6, that's fine. Versus somebody like the Marlins, where you kind of basically want Alcantara to pitch 9 innings every 5th day because
you mean have
he's
to?
the best pitcher on your club.
I think you were looking for the words "have to have him pitch 9 innings every 5 days" because your bullpen's kind of scary looking.
Right. I mean, that's the one blessing and curse with the Dodgers is that they have a solid bullpen, and they don't need him to go 7, 8, 9 innings. But so I don't know. I mean, Gonsolin, as far as wins go, is obviously taking the cake, but Alcantara is having the more complete year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And like I said, wins aren't everything. So, all right, let's look at Rookie of the Year. I'm going to make this a little bit easier and let you pick one pitcher, one batter for Rookie of the Year consideration. We probably did pick that in the preseason, and I just forgot to write it down. I'll have to listen back to the old episodes. I know for NL, I think all 3 of us were pretty high on Seiya Suzuki. I can't remember who we all were high on for the American League. Jason, I know he was pretty sure he had Julio Rodriguez. I probably had Julio Rodriguez as well, or I might have also had who's the guy for the Royals?
Bobby Witt.
Yeah, Bobby Witt. I think Bobby Witt was the other guy I was really high on. So, what are you thinking for the rookies right now?
I think in the American League, this is probably Julio's award to lose at this point. Not only has he been a solid piece for them, but then he was obviously a show at the All-Star game, and obviously the stats don't matter there, but for him, but that type of energy and that type of personality is going to win you a lot of fans. That type of energy. So to me, it's probably Julio running away in the American League.
Yeah. I agree. The only other guy in the American League I would consider, at least on the hitting side, would be Stephen Kwan of the Guardians. He's hitting 292, 369, 379 right now. He's not a power guy like Rodriguez. He only has 2 home runs. He's an outfielder, but he's picked up 87 hits. He's scored 45 runs, 14 doubles. 27 RBIs, 33 walks, only 29 strikeouts, and that's in 83 games. But I'm sorry, average isn't going to put up the sheer load of numbers that Julio Rodriguez has put up so far.
No, and Guan's a good secondary pick based on you know the way he started the year, where he went what 16, 17 straight games with the hit or
Yeah,
on base, like it was nuts. Um, yeah, that you know that's borne out. The Julio stuff has definitely borne out. He is as advertised, at least at this point.
yeah. And then pitchers, it doesn't look like the American League really has a deep group of pitchers to pick from. I think probably the two biggest guys I would look at are Joe Ryan of the Twins and George Kirby of the Mariners. Um, Ryan's made 15 starts, 7-3 at the 2.89 ERA. He struck out 73 guys, 105 WHIP, 207 average against. Kirby in 12 starts only has a 2-3 record, but a 3.78 ERA. He has struck out 62 to only 9 walks, 124 WHIP, 273 average against. Um, I'd say of those two, Joe Ryan, but let's be realistic. It's gonna be Julio Rodriguez. So this is kind of academic at this point.
Right, pretty much.
All right, let's switch it over to the National League and look at the qualified rookies over here. Because honestly, I could see two guys really taking this, both from Atlanta. So, but here's the thing: Seiya Suzuki is definitely not out of the running for this. He actually has played 6 more games than Michael Harris has, um, and has put up pretty similar numbers. So I definitely can't say it's going to be an Atlanta guy's award to lose. So, Joe, what are you thinking for National League Rookie of the Year for the hitters?
Um, I would probably say Christopher Morel, and I know that sounds like a bit of a homer pick. I have to grab onto what I can grab onto in the city of Chicago. But he went on a 21 game on base streak to start his career, and he's 22 years old. Was in Double A and was brought up, and he has been a huge spark for them ever since. In 59 games this year, 40 runs, 64 hits, 13 doubles, 4 triples, 9 homers, 29 RBIs, 24 walks, 75 strikeouts, 9 steals, and he was caught 5 times. Slash line at 282, 353, 493, and the OPS at 846.
Yeah, Morel probably is the better choice over Suzuki at this point.
Oh, it's not even close in my opinion. And he's been so important to them. He plays center and he plays second and he can play third. He could play just about anywhere they need him to.
So
And,
he's a
and
younger, less hurt version of KB who's actually hit home runs unlike KB this year.
well, and he's just you know uh, that's one way of putting it. Sure. I think what's really impressive about him is he brings a ton of energy to the sport. He brings a ton of flair to playing in the field. He loves the game. He hit a homer onto to Waveland in his first at bat on the first pitch he saw at Wrigley Field.
Damn.
Like,
Welcome to
really?
the show, kid.
Um,
Welcome
like,
to the show.
it's just ridiculous, man. Like the guy has been so fun to watch, and for a 22-year-old to go, I'm getting my shot, I'm going to take it. And for a hat tip, and I don't say this very often, so mark this episode, a hat tip to David Ross for letting him hit leadoff and letting him take that and just go with it. He was lights out as a leadoff guy, and hat tip to Ross for putting him in that spot.
Yeah, and definitely the best choice that they have to be leadoff, because God forbid he started Jason Hayward so many times. There was definitely a risk that he could have put Hayward at leadoff just to piss off Cubs Nation, because apparently the dude's unfireable no matter how bad this team is. So Joe, I'm going to make my argument for Michael Harris now. Harris has only appeared in 52 games, so like I said, right around Suzuki and Morel, a little bit less. He's hitting 285, 318, 484 right now. He's hit 8 home runs already and only 186 at bats, I might add. Scored 31 runs, 9 doubles, 2 triples. He's already stolen 10 bases and has not been caught yet. The dude's got a great glove out in center field, and he's got a cannon for an arm. He makes plays that remind me of Andrew frickin' Jones, who is the best center fielder I have ever seen play the game. Ken Griffey was great. Andrew Jones was better. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. And the advanced defensive metrics agree with me on that. Jones, I believe, has the highest D-WAR of any outfielder in history. Granted, that's for the older guys. It's really hard to tell because clippings are pretty crappy to try and figure that out. Michael Harris, I watched him catch a ball in probably 2/3 to deep center, flat-footed, gun a guy out trying to score from third. Flat-footed. He's got the power and he's got the accuracy that remind me of a certain Japanese guy named Ichiro Suzuki, who I watched throw a ball from the right field foul pole to third base on a line. Suzuki still has a better arm. I'll give him that. Probably all these years retired, Ichiro could probably still outthrow most of the guys in the league right now. Let's be realistic. But for me, Michael Harris came up and he helped to spark that 14-game winning streak and really helped turn the team around. It's really hard for me to pick against him. And I don't disagree with everything you said about Morel, and I wouldn't be upset if he does take it. But right now, for me, I can't go against Harris. And it's like we've said many times, homer picks are allowed, especially when it turns out that the homer pick turns out to be true. All right, Joe. And now here's the thing. The AL, it's pretty much locked in. The NL, it's not locked in. There's some pitchers that could absolutely be in the conversation. I'll let you. Do you want to lead this, or do you want me to go? Do you want me to go homer pick back to back?
You can go homer pick back to back. You've earned that.
All right. So Spencer Strider started the year in the bullpen, and bullpen / long relief guy, and since was moved to the 5th spot in the rotation to try and stabilize it. And I believe since the All-Star break was moved up to 4th to drop Ian Anderson's inaccurate ass down to 5th, where he should be this year. He's only started 10 games, 21 appearances overall, but he's 4-3 with a 3.03 ERA, 74 and a third innings. He has struck out 114 guys, 105 whip, 180 batting average against. Once again, the dude comes in and stabilizes the rotation really well. I think of the two, I think I lean Harris because I tend to lean towards the everyday guys before I lean towards pitchers. But Spencer Strider absolutely makes a good argument to be included in that list. Another pitcher I would I'm sorry, with his numbers. I wish I could include Hunter Green of the Reds, who is 1 strikeout behind Strider for leading the NL rookies, but 311, 578. That's not just the Reds' lack of run support hurting you. That's you're also giving up too many runs, despite the fact that you also strike out just about everybody you see until they see you for a third time and then crush you. What do you think, Joe?
It's hard to argue with what Spencer Strider's been able to do. I mean, the Rookie of the Year is primarily an offensive award, I think, most of the time. So I'd be surprised to see it go away from a player, a position player. Um, but Strider's definitely making a case.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's struck out 114 and 74 and a third is pretty damn good. And the
Yeah,
fact that the Braves aren't even convinced that he'll be a long term starter and they might want to move him back to the bull, like that he's got that flexibility to be able to do that is just utterly insane.
yeah, I think too. What he's been able to do with it took Morton a little while to get adjusted this year, um, and so he's been a good supporting cast to in that rotation to Max Fried and Morton, who's now pitching like Charlie Morton, should be pitching.
Normally does, yeah.
Right.
Spencer Strider's strikeout per nine right now, 13.8. And he's got a 3.8 strikeout to walk. So I mean, he can be a little wild at times, no doubt about it. Um, I still have a really hard time arguing with 114 strikeouts to only 30 walks. Not
Yeah.
bad. All right, so
Yeah. Let's just to recap Jason's picks for these awards.
oh, you got him.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. He had Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt MVPs for AL and NL.
Yep,
McClanahan and Alcantara for the Cy Youngs,
no
and
arguments.
Julio and Strider for Rookie of the Year.
Okay, yeah, I can't. I can't. He's pretty much right along the line with all of us. So yeah, I can't argue with that. I love Strider. I really think of the two, I think it's going to be Harris because you tend to give the nod to the everyday players unless you can just blow people out of the water, which frankly, Strider does have the arm to do that. So it's going to be really interesting to see over the end of July and into August how the two of them do, along with everybody else, of course. Um, so we'll see how that goes from there. All right. So not a whole lot to talk about from the teams this week because they only played one series each, but we have some good things to talk about. And I think Jason's like, hey, Karen, take your time. They're on the teams right now. I don't want to be on right now. So the Braves, they took 2 out of 3 from the Angels. Game 1 was an 8-1 victory. Game 2 was a 7-2 victory. Game 3 was a 9-1 loss. Riley has remained hot, 6 for 11 for the series, the double, a homer, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored. He's currently on a 16-game hitting streak, Joe, and has 28 home runs for the season. Since June 1st, the Braves are 35-12 with the best record in the majors over that span. They're 19-7 at home during that stretch and have outscored their opponents 132-87 over that period of time. Kyle Wright has won 5 straight decisions and is now 1 victory behind Justin Verlander for the MLB lead. As a team, the Braves lead the National League with home runs at 150. The Yankees still lead overall. Here's you want to talk about crazy games. Shohei Ohtani, because the Angels have nothing to lose, so they're just going to run their rotation like normal, whereas the Braves started Morton and went 3-4-5 because they're getting ready for the Phillies series. And actually, that's what the Phillies did too. They ran 3-4-5 against the Cubs to get their top guys lined up for Atlanta. Shohei Ohtani pitched in game 1 for the Angels, and for the first 6 innings, he was basically unhittable. The only hit he gave up in those first 6 innings was a double to Austin Riley in the 2nd inning. And then the 7th inning, Dansby Swanson got on with a walk. Matt Olson hit a 2-run home run. 3 straight singles. Arcia hits a 2 or 3 run home run off him as well. He struck out 11 guys. That was his 5th straight game. He's had double-digit strikeouts, but because of that 1 inning, his season ERA jumped from 2.23 to 2.8. You don't see that this late in the season ever. I talk about, the analytics guys love to hound on that 3rd time through the order. You got to watch out for that 3rd time. My question, after Matt Olson hits the 2-run home run, okay, you let him go because it's Shohei. He gives up 3 straight singles and one run scored it. Yeah, one run scored. Arcia's home run was the 3-run shot. And I understand he struck out Arcia the previous 2 at bats, but clearly something can't be right because he's finally getting hit. Why the hell did they leave Shohei in to face Arcia? I don't understand that. And I understand bad management has been a big reason for the lack of success for the Angels this year, along with injuries to Mike Trout, which I was actually kind of disappointed that Mike Trout didn't play. I would have loved to have seen him play, but that's the rub sometimes. What the hell? That is absolutely asinine and makes no sense to me. What do you think?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a loaded question. I'm used to bad management of pitchers, so
That's true. But what the hell?
I mean, bad management in the dugout is the least of their worries in Anaheim. Holy hell!
But Jesus, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy is giving up that much contact in the 4 prior batters to a guy, I don't care that you've struck him out twice. Clearly, he's not getting it done anymore. Clearly, he's lost some speed here, and
he's rattled.
Yeah,
you can see the guy's getting rapidly rattled, giving up.
I mean, it's numbers are one thing when it comes to managing players, but there's a feel to it, and the fan, particularly guys like us, we're watching the game and we're like, okay, pull him, 3 runs later. You son of a gun! You should have pulled him 4 hitters ago.
I don't understand. And I mean, I get it. They have just like Alcantara and the Marlins, the Angels have nobody else. So, they're already scraping the barrel once Ohtani comes out of the game. But what the hell was that? Just nuts. You feel bad for the guy because he pitched a phenomenal game to that point. And if they would have pulled him out, who the hell knows what would have happened? One piece of bad news for the Braves. Adam Duvall's done for the season. He's going to have surgery on his wrist after hitting the wall on Saturday. But good news, Kirby Yates, the former closer that they signed in the offseason, knowing that they wouldn't have him for half the season as he recovered from Tommy John, has been moved up to Double-A in his rehab starts or rehab appearances, excuse me. So hopefully he'll be ready to go, early August, mid-August, to give the Braves another arm in the bullpen. And I believe that there are rumors that Mike Soroka will hopefully be ready before too much longer as well. Although, to be honest, I'm still shocked. I will still be shocked if we see Mike Soroka do much of anything this year. I really would honestly prefer that they keep him shut down and, not run the risk of hurting him further, because I'd rather see him pitch in the long term, especially when he's coming back from. Darren O'Day, they did put on the 15-day IL. They were going to leave him day to day. He's got a strained calf, but they did move him to the IL, so he'll be out for a little while longer. I'm just checking on Soroka quick. Okay, good. They just updated this about 4 days ago. Snicker said Soroka hasn't reached a point where the team can set a timetable for potential return. So now they're saying that September, if at all, or more likely 2023, which frankly I feel better about, given that we're coming off a doubly torn Achilles. All right, Joe. So Sunday didn't go the way I was hoping, but you know what? They took 2 out of 3. I can't argue. Now, what about a team that could actually complete the sweep?
Well, I mean, first with the Braves, it's good for them to take 2 out of 3 and stay warm. I don't remember if the Mets won 2 out of 3 or if they just won 1 out of 3 this past weekend. But anytime you can either tie or, take one more than the Mets, that's a good series the rest of the way.
I think the Mets somehow managed to squeak 2 out of 3. Yeah, Mets squeaked 2 out of 3, I believe.
So I mean, as long as you're staying within, within
Game
that
and a
game
half.
and a half,
Game and a half.
that's obviously you wanna pull ahead at some point in the year, and I think the Braves will certainly probably do that. Um, the way that the Mets have been not hitting as well, up until this weekend or last night anyway. Um, it so anytime you can win a series, it's important, and yeah, you'd love to get three, especially from a struggling Angels team. But again, keeping pace with the Mets is important here.
And they won the series.
Right,
That's what you need to do. You need to pick
right.
up these series wins, even if you don't get the sweep. 2 out of 3 is good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm getting into the Cubs. I finally had a good week to talk about,
Get the brooms. Get the brooms.
as good as it can be, given what's coming. I think it was nice for Cub fans to have a nice weekend coming out of the break, and again with the looming trades that we're not really sure about just yet. Um, uh, you know, Dave Robertson, trade value up, trade him now before he pitches again. Um, Drew Smiley, trade value up, trade him before he pitches again, or don't let him pitch at all.
did,
Um,
did I see
anyway,
Rob Smiley freaking shut the Phillies out?
we'll get to it. Yeah. Um, so
He didn't even do that
Friday,
for us last year.
yeah. um, Friday's game, the Cubs. I didn't follow it, but Jason was like, "Well, this is the game I expected them to lose," and I'm like, "Okay, how bad was it?" And I'm like, "What?" Uh, so they win this one 15-2. Justin Steele gets the win. His ERA is almost under 4, but he's been on the wrong side of a couple of games, including that 20-5 loss to Cincinnati. So I mean, it's going to take a while for his ERA to get down again. Um, no matter how many times you play the Diamondbacks or have another good day. So you know. Justin Steele is continuing to develop there. 5 innings, 4 hits, a run, 4 walks. Um, you know, effective enough. Um, other than Kyle Schwarber and with a homer in the bottom of the first, and trying to see when that other run was for Philly. In the bottom of the ninth, Derek Hall hit a homer. But other than that, 6 hits as a club, um, for the Phils, 2 RBIs in this game, obviously, 6 walks, and 16 guys left on. You didn't put this lineup together expecting that kind of output. Um, the Cubs, Velasquez was 2 for 2, 2 runs, 5 RBIs on the day. He's a young rookie who um, Cub fans have been hoping that he would get some time in, um, much to Jason Hayward's chagrin. And now he's finally getting some of those reps because Seiya is kind of working back up and not necessarily playing every single day. But Velasquez is coming in pitch hitting situations, and he's coming in center field, and again 2 for 2, 2 runs, 5 RBIs. That's a fantastic day for a young kid. And Nico continues to be, have good approaches. He had a hit, a run, 1 for 6, but 2 RBIs on the day. So good showing by the Cubs in game one, obviously. Good pitching and a good collection of hitting, getting it done for them in that game. So, you know, that was a good start to the weekend. Um, Saturday's game was 6-2 in 10 innings, which still boggles my mind how this went that way. But at any rate, Nico hits a home run in the top of the second. JT has an RBI single in the bottom of the seventh, and then um, the 10th inning happens, and the 10th inning was just like Schwindel reaches on a fielder's choice, and that it bounces and Nico scores because of the bounce into the dirt and the hop. Morel had an RBI single. Velazquez reaches on a throwing error by who else but Alec Bohm, who really Alec Bohm is he makes errors on easy basic defensive plays. You know, in even in our little league days, you're told get in front of it and knock it down, and he continues to try to play like he's almost like a guy in the bull ring where it's like, he puts his glove out here and then he lays it and misses. But yeah, Robertson is 3-0 in the bullpen with a 1.88 ERA, and that dropped on Sunday, but still 3-0 and effective in the bullpen. Trade value up. I'm talking to you Met fans because I want to win this trade again. Yeah. Nico with a homer and a bunch of nonsense in the 10th inning. The 10th inning was just unbelievable to witness it and to watch it happen in real time, and you're just like, what the heck just happened here? The Phillies, I think, I really feel like they should have, as soon as Bryce got hurt, they should have gone out and picked up an outfielder or a bat of some kind, because that's the only way they're going to tread water until he comes back. And when Acuna got hurt last year, I told you go get somebody, and they went and got somebody to see what they could do, and the Phillies didn't do that. So I'm not saying they're finished, and I don't think anybody really thinks they're done, but offensively they need to get their act together. But this pitching matchup in this one was Wheeler and Stroman. Stroman went 6+ and Wheeler went 7, I think. And it was, to pitch that well and get a no decision and then end up with a loss if you're Philly is just, you can't lose those games.
No.
You can't lose those games when Wheeler gives you his best. That's just not going to get it done.
We mentioned this last year. I'm amazed that Wheeler and Nola ever allow themselves to be taken out of games, given how many times the bullpen has let them down and the offense hasn't picked them up. You got to feel for guys like that whose records are significantly worse than they should be, given the quality of pitching they're putting out.
Yeah, when you look at here's Wheeler's stat line for the Saturday game: 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. If you're Philly, you cannot lose those games.
No.
Your reliable starter cannot be hung out to dry like that. And then Alvarado, I don't know what you call that mess of an inning he pitched in the 10th, but it was complete another dumpster fire.
I mean, as a neutral third party, enjoyable to watch.
Neutral third party, my ass.
Maybe not quite neutral, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So again, to me, I'm not going to be someone who's like, well, we're only 19 games under 500 now. Let's see what happens. No. But this was an exciting weekend, and it's capped off by Sunday's game. 4-3 win in this one. Smiley gets the win, and he was lights out, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Only one of those was earned, and 4 strikeouts. He had a perfect game going, or no hitter going into the 5th inning, and Morel laid out for it and just couldn't quite get there. And he felt terrible, but like into the 5th inning, Smiley had a no hitter going. So, trade value is certainly up for him, considering how much he's been hurt. there's got to be a team that wants a starter like that to give you some innings, or a long relief guy. Maybe he pitches only a couple innings here and there. Who knows? His curveball has been a big part of his repertoire here lately, and he's had some success with that. This is probably Nico's worst game. He was 0 for 3 with a strikeout, but Morel went 2 for 4, a ribby and a walk. Nico is the leading hitter on the Cubs team right now, hitting 300 going into tonight. And Yan Gomes this was Yan Gomes' game. He was 2 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. They were both home runs. So that move by Cubs management in the offseason has really paid dividends. And it'll be even more beneficial if they keep Wilson, or whatever they get back for Wilson. At least they have a quality catcher to take that spot.
Given how bad the catching market is and the overall dearth of good catching available, especially defensively, they should get a pretty damn big haul back for Contreras. Maybe not quite what they got for Javi last year, but realistically, they should be shooting for at least that, maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with the offensive output up until lately of Wilson Contreras. You just can't. And defensively behind the plate, managing the game, really, top notch, and hopefully he either gets paid to stay, or, he comes back. He talks about how much he'd love to come back if he is traded, and Ian Happ doesn't want to go nowhere. So, look, I don't know what lies in store here in the next 2 weeks here with this team the next week, with the deadline next week, but I'm going to enjoy it for what it's worth, and I'm sure between tonight's game and the Tuesday game for Wilson, those are his last home games at Wrigley, and I hope the fans shell out, and I know they will.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be that'll be a crazy time. Let me see here. Did Jason have any other notes? Jason's other notes for the series: Cubs played very well, got timely hitting and pitching. Phillies pitching, aside from game 1, wasn't bad, just fell apart in extras in game 2. Wheeler and Dominguez were fantastic. Offense is just missing, and Castellanos is having an incredibly bad year. Team is starting to feel the effects of losing Harper and Segura. Segura should be back in a week or 2, I think, but they aren't getting contributions from the whole team like they were in the weeks leading up to the All-Star game break. Not seeing as many pitches, not working walks, not being the anti-money baller of the week, which I think is extremely well said. The Phillies they're undisciplined right now. They're hitting very undisciplined, and it shows. And I'm surprised they didn't take at least one in the series, but I'm really not terribly surprised to see them get swept by the Cubs. Right now, in Atlanta, it was last time in Philadelphia against Atlanta, it was 4-3. It's still 4-3 right now. So hopefully Atlanta holds on to win that one as well. We're actually going to be at the game tomorrow night. We were originally going to take my boys to the game we took Jason and Karen to last month, but the boys went on an impromptu camping trip with their grandparents, and how can you say no to that? So their first ever Major League game will be tomorrow night. It's going to be a really good one, Spencer Strider and Aaron Nola. So I'm very excited for them to see that. We're going to be up in the 300 level like we were last time. So far enough out that I don't have to worry about trying to barehand a fly ball or a foul ball just on the off chance. So it should be a great time, though. That really is a beautiful ballpark to go see a game in. So, all right. So we're skipping hot players this week. We're going to skip the hot pitchers this week. We're going to skip most of the hot teams. Joe, the Cubbies earned it, man, with the sweep. And as you know, my youngest son Benji is a huge Cubs fan, so it feels wrong not to put the Cubs on the hot list for this week. I know the Dodgers should probably be on there soon, on there too, but the hell with the Dodgers, I don't care. We're gonna leave it just for the Cubbies this week.
Yeah, and again, I'm not one of those guys who's like, oh, they went on a sweep. We can, not sell everything and not sell things here next week. But again, a nice week. Do I think it's indicative of anything long term for Philly? I think Philly's going to find a way to rebound from this, and hopefully Dombrowski's got a couple of guys he's got his eye on to improve the club here at the deadline.
Yeah, they need to do something. I mean, the nice thing is you can finally play one of your two or three DHs that you have at DH instead of making them play in the field because Bryce Harper can't throw the freaking baseball.
Right.
But still, I mean, this team didn't have depth. They had a good to great lineup, but they didn't really have much in the way of depth behind them, and they don't have a lot of depth in the minors, and it's starting to show.
Yeah.
I do like that Thompson's playing the young guys. I do. Give them a chance, give them the exposure, give them the opportunity, but at the same time, he doesn't make quite as many questionable decisions as Girardi does, but from the recap that Jason and I had of the game we went to, he's wondering, you either got to let the young guys go the whole way through, or you pull the young guy for an experienced guy, but you do it at the right time. You don't do it at this time, So, we're not talking about crazy Kapler and his 100% all in on advanced metrics. We're not talking about Girardi and his fumbling lack of management of a pitching staff, but definitely some fair questions that the Phillies fans could have for the management of the team during games. All right, so looking at the upcoming week, Atlanta is on the road for the first half. 3 at Philadelphia. Fried versus Suarez tonight. Strider versus Nola tomorrow. Which, like I said, I'm going to get to see Strider live. I'm excited for that. And then Morton versus Gibson on Thursday. And then they come home for the Diamondbacks, Wright versus Bumgarner, Anderson versus Martin, which I'm not looking forward to that game because I don't trust Ian Anderson to pitch his way out of a paper bag at this point. And then Max Fried versus Gilbert on Sunday. That's going to be a good matchup there. For the Cubbies for the rest of the week, you've got a stupid 2-game mini series with the Pirates at home. Sampson versus Brubaker, Thompson versus Wilson. I know it's stupid. It makes no sense. And then 4 on the road at the Giants because somebody doesn't like your schedule writing. Steele versus Wood, Stroman versus Cobb, Smiley versus Junis, Sampson versus Rodon. And then the Phillies, when they're done getting beaten up by Atlanta, hopefully they go on the road to Pittsburgh. You got Wheeler versus Thompson, TBA versus Quintana, Suarez versus Keller, and Nola versus Brubaker. So, for me, Joe, it's got to be 2 out of 3 at least versus Philadelphia, and then it's got to be at least 2 out of 3 or a sweep against Arizona at home. Arizona is definitely better than they were last year. Let's face it, that's a team that had nowhere to go but up. But Arizona's still not going to be world beaters. They're 42-53 with a -40 run differential at this point. So Atlanta needs to take the opportunity against, lesser opponent and just get the job done. At least take the series. A sweep would be preferred, but take the series. Keep the pressure on the Mets. And, with Philadelphia, the big thing right now that you have to look at, especially from Atlanta's perspective, is if we can't catch the Mets, we need to look at positioning and seeding right now. Atlanta right now is the top wild card team, 7 games up. Philly's actually fallen out of the wild card. St. Louis passed and they're a game behind. And right now, Atlanta's got the 3rd best record in the league. I don't remember if the CBA would let a wild card team get a higher seed than a division winner or not. I hope it didn't because division winners should still be getting something. We shouldn't completely nerf the value of winning your division. But at the same time, if they did, that means Atlanta's going to be a 3 seed instead of a 4 seed. So, um, you got to look at playoff positioning starting now. We are in the second half. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's definitely a big week for the Braves. Like you said, you hope to take 2 out of 3 from Philly if you can. The Philly seems to be reeling quite a bit. Again, the Diamondbacks, like you said, not as terrible as they've been in the past, but still not good. Um, and I think um, with the Mets playing the Yankees and then going and playing the Marlins at the end of the week, uh, you have to win the week at this point is kind of the strategy here. And if you take 2 out of 3 in both of those series, or is one of them 4, or is it 3 games each?
2 out of 3 for both. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
both three
you
gamers.
take 2 out of 3 in both of those series, you're probably going to win the week.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the strategy going forward. If you're in contention in any of these races, is win the week and then see what happens.
Yeah. Yep. Sneak a sweep here and there if you can, but just keep taking series.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sweeps are so hard to do depending on offense and pitching and all of that, and all of
Even
the
when you're at
information
home,
that teams
it's
have
hard.
now. Yeah,
It's hard to get a sweep when you're at home playing a bad team.
yeah.
So, how do you think the Cubbies are going to do on the road in San Francisco?
I don't know. I mean, I think I don't remember San Francisco's record offhand. Let me see here, but it's they're underperforming. Obviously, I think quite a bit, um, at least compared to what the Dodgers are doing. Obviously, but you know, I for the Cubs, I think it's more about control what you can control this week. I think you expect to win at least one of these two against Pittsburgh. Um, and that one that you expect to win is tomorrow night with Keegan on the bump. Um, you know, and you see what happens in San Francisco. But more importantly, it's just control what you can control, do the best you can in the field, and try to block out where Wilson's going to be next week, where Ian Happ could be next week, where Robertson could be next week. You basically just have to go, look, can't control any of that, don't know what's going to happen, and do what you have to do on the field. Um, and again, as I've said before, for me, the Cubs this year, it's you know figuring out what you have going forward. Is we know now, we didn't know at the beginning of the year. Nico is the shortstop on the next best Cub team, either shortstop or second base. He has solidified himself there. Um, Christopher Morel. These guys are finding ways to you know figure out what they have. Is kind of what my approach is as a Cub fan going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the Phillies, I mean, especially if they drop the series to Atlanta. I don't want to say do or die yet. It's a little early to say it, but 4 games with the Pirates, you need to take those 4 games. And I know Philly doesn't traditionally play great out in Pittsburgh, but they need to take it. They need to at least split this 4 game or take 3 out of 4 sweep. If they don't, especially because they're throwing both Nola and Wheeler in the series, that's not going to look good for the Phillies if they can't at least split.
Yeah, a winning week, a good week for Philly is 3 of 4 against Pittsburgh, and 1 or 2 in the beginning of the week here against the Braves. If they're able to get that, that's more than you can ask for. Getting one from the Braves um, would be a good week. The one against the Braves and 3 against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Any other series you have your eye on?
Not particularly. I mean, Mets Yankees here at the beginning of the week should be fun to watch. I'm interested to see um, what starts happening with Boston. Do they just start to go, you know what, it's time to sell? And this is that would be really surprising because they were a team who arrived a year early last year, and it just you know, hasn't materialized the same way this year. They sent away or lost in free agency Hunter Renfro in the offseason, and the Yankees have just been insane. So
And here's the thing. Boston is on a 5-game skid. They're 1-9 in the last 10. They're down to a 500 record at 48-48. The Orioles will likely catch them before too much longer. Now, they are winning against the Guardians tonight. They're up 3-1 in the top of the 7th. But this is a team with a negative 12 run differential. That's 27-34 against teams with a greater than 500 record. That's not going to get it done. But at the same time, this is Boston. This is a team that doesn't sell.
no, they don't. And I mean, they might get rid of one or two pieces, but depending what they can get for it. I mean, JD is probably on the rumor wire with what he could do as a DH. He'd fit right in Queens probably and be a big upgrade. But they also have the adult softball league champion Vogelbach. Man, he's a beast.
That trade, when that came down, I was like, really? This is we don't know what the hell we're going to be moving. Let's face it, we may flip Vogelbach in a few weeks too, depending on how things roll.
Well, and the fact, like, they showed his second to home speed, and it was like 7.74.
Oh, it's so bad.
So there's still hope for guys like us.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I could beat 7. I think I could beat 7.74. Not by much, but I'm sure I could beat it. That's pretty terrible. All right. So, guys, you can find our audio recordings on Anchor, Spotify Breaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. You can see us live on the YouTube channel, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter. You can find our merchandise at redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. On the Twitter page at DDAB_podcast. You can find all three of us on Twitter. I'm at PyroLord314, Jason's at JRicker300, and Joe is at JoltonJoe35. We are presented by Dark Arrow Podcast, LLC, and we are sponsored by the amazing Whiskey and Blade Barbershop in Lidditz. Johnny, I will see you Wednesday, and we can talk hopefully about your Yankees beating the ever-loving hell out of the Mets for me. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good night, everybody.